Hello, I am Lincoln. The Nintendo Direct was a few days ago, and that was pretty good. They started out with a Mario and Luigi, not a remake, a new game for the Mario and Luigi series, which was a really big surprise. Now, if you asked me about this a few months ago, then I probably wouldn't be interested. But you have to understand, a while back, they added Superstar Saga to the Game Boy Advance library for Nintendo Switch. And when they released Superstar Saga, I was not really interested in playing it. But a few months ago, I was interested in playing it, so I played it. And oh my god, my neck looks long in this shirt. Like, seriously, can you guys see that? Oh yeah, this game is amazing. Like, really. And I just like to talk about it and review my thoughts on it. Warning, there will be spoilers. The game opens up at Peach's castle, where you hear that the Goodwill Ambassador from the Bean Kingdom would be visiting. Turns out that's not the Goodwill Ambassador, and that is Cackletta, which is the main villain of this game. She steals Princess Peach's voice, which is a pretty random thing to do at this point in the story, and she flies off. So then Mario and Luigi head to Peach's castle to try and stop him. When they arrive, they find that Bowser is there now. They learn that Princess Peach's voice has been stolen, so they go to travel to the Bean Kingdom to restore it. So they all got in this ship called the Koopa Cruiser. On their way to the Bean Kingdom, they get stopped by this guy. And they all fall to the ground. So then they have to go do this mandatory mini-game, which sounds like it's annoying in most games. But for this game, it's actually quite important because of the combat system. The combat system in this game is more interesting than other RPGs in the sense that instead of just being you attack them and you might hit the enemy, you might critical hit the enemy, and you might miss that enemy. There's actually a challenge in which you have to press A and B to jump at the right time, or swing your hammer at the right times. Press A to move Mario, and you press B to move Luigi. So timing is actually very important for this game. And this mini-game where you have to jump over this rope really helps you get used to the timing in the game. Anyways, a little bit later, they're on top of a mountain. Yeah, this game is weird, how you can, be on flat ground, and then immediately be on top of a mountain with no major story progressions in between. In most other games, the entirety of Celeste happens in between there. So anyway, they're on top of the mountain, and they have to fight this dragon creature. After defeating him, he transforms into the wonderful and magnificent Prince Peasley. Prince Peasley has to be my favorite character throughout the entire game. Prince Peasley guides them to the castle, where they eventually find Queen Bean has been turned into a monster, or just very muscular version of herself. So they defeat her, turn her back into normal. A ton of unimportant stuff happens. They go to college, where they kill Cackletta. They go to an airport where they discover that Peach is completely okay, and the person who lost their voice was a Birdo disguised as Peach. Meanwhile, Bowser fuses with Cackletta and breaks the Bean Star, which is your very generic special item, which grants a wish or powers to whoever awakens it. I don't really even remember that part. It's really just a very generic item. And they needed Peach's voice to awaken it. But now it's broken because of Mario and Luigi, and it's split into 5 parts that you need to collect throughout the rest of the game, which is pretty generic, but you know what? It works for an RPG. But it does bring one of my only problems with the game. One of the Beanstar pieces you collect requires you to find this boat on land, meet its crew, do stuff with the crew, do this mandatory mini-game with them, start the water flowing through the ravine to send the boat to the sea, have the boat sink, do an entire underwater segment, go to an island in which you learn how to use some of the powers you have, and then you fight a giant hermit crab, and then you go back and get your Beanstar piece. And so, that's a very long and interesting chain of events. What happens for the second one? You do a single mandatory minigame that takes at most 2 minutes of dyeing clothes. And then you get your Beanstar piece. I think the problem here is obvious. Anyways, Bowletta kidnaps Princess Peach and the completed Beanstar, and then goes to Bowser's castle. Prince Peasley follows them to Bowser's castle, and Queen Bean instructs Mario and Luigi to do the same. The first segment of Bowser's Castle is a Koopaling boss rush, which I do not like. I think that's a lazy way of ending the game, and I hope none of the future games do it.
Foreshadowing!
The next segment is a Fawful boss fight. The boss fight is long and kind of tedious. At the end of the boss fight, Prince Peasley shows up and throws him out of the castle. I hope I never have to deal with that again.
Foreshadowing!
Then the final boss happens against Bowletta. The first phase is just about an average boss fight, but then he swallows Mario and Luigi for the second phase. In the second phase, you're specifically fighting Cackleta's soul, and then you defeat Cackleta's soul and cure Bowser. Then everybody goes home. The ending was very weird. Like, in what other Mario game could the game end with a boss fight against a bean's soul inside of Bowser's stomach?
Foreshadowing!
9 out of 10.
Hello, I am Lincoln. 7 months ago, I did my retrospective on Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. And I said that I intend on doing a retrospective on Mario and Luigi Partners in Time next, because I am marathoning the games right now. Well, it only took me a month to beat Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, so it makes sense that it took 7 months for me to beat Partners in Time. Why was it so much quicker for me to beat Superstar Saga? Well, there's a number of reasons. I had save states. I can't think of any other reasons. But now I have beaten it, and wow. It's like my neck grows every time I wear this shirt. Why? Oh yeah, this game is also really good. The game opens up at Peach's castle, where you discover that Professor Egad has invented a time machine, and is sending Princess Peach and a few other Toads into it to go to the past. When it comes back, all that arrives is an alien. These aliens are known as the Shroobs. Mario and Luigi fight the alien, and then they needed a way to go save Peach. Suddenly, a time hole opens in the yard. A time hole is a hole that leads to the past. So everyone gets in the time hole, and they go all the way to the past, where they land in this one area, and they walk up to this village. This is much like the villages that you find in Superstar Saga, except for this one's Christmas themed. It's called Holly Jolly Village. Except for this immediately sets the tone of the game to be way different from Superstar Saga, as the village is destroyed. There's almost no one still living there, and the music is playing in this rather creepy tone. Suddenly, some Shroobs in their UFOs come flying by, and they start shooting at Mario and Luigi, and they faint onto the floor. In the past, Baby Mario and Baby Luigi are visiting to see Baby Princess Peach, when suddenly Baby Bowser attacks Baby Mario and Baby Luigi, so Baby Mario and Baby Luigi defeat Baby Bowser, and the Shroobs start invading Peach's castle, and they all fly off in the Koopa Cruiser. They fly to the Holly Jolly Village, where Baby Mario and Baby Luigi meet up with Mario and Luigi, and now you're in control of 4 different characters. And this makes the combat a lot more interesting. The combat system now involves you upgrading your attacks by combining the baby's movements with your movements. And that makes things a lot more interesting. I will say it is pretty complicated, especially when some of the people die, and you have to tilt the DS for your thumb to be able to rotate to cross the buttons conveniently. But it works for what it is. Now it's important to ask, how did Egad invent time travel? Well, he made it through the power of the Cobalt Star. The Cobalt Star is this really cool star that can control time. However, it was broken by the Shroobs and scattered across the Mushroom Kingdom in the past, meaning now Mario, Luigi, Baby Mario, and Baby Luigi all need to collect them. Isn't that kind of like the Beanstar and Superstar Saga or whatever? Mario, Luigi, Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Young Toadsworth, and Baby Princess Peach all go to the future to Peach's castle. From here to the end of the first half of the game, all areas in this game are handled through a level format, where you travel across the hub world and travel to different levels. Thinking of the different areas as levels really makes the second half of the game way funnier, but that's unimportant right now. The Cobalt Star is split up into several different pieces, but throughout the game you gain pieces and you lose pieces in different areas, and honestly, I struggle remembering where all of these different events happened. So I'll just talk about the levels that I'm interested in, and will not talk about where these Cobalt things happen. Just understand that by the end of the game I've collected all the Cobalt Star. The most interesting level in the entire game is Yoshi's Island. You get to go to Yoshi's Island, and there's this giant Shroob Yoshi who's eating everyone, and then he eats you, and you travel through him, and then you use the Yoshis in the boss fight to defeat the boss. Oh yeah, and it has a lot of cute cutscenes between Luigi and Baby Luigi, and Baby Bowser takes control over the Yoshis because he told them that he defeated the giant Yoshi, which is really funny because in the Yoshi games, Baby Bowser is like the main villain. At one point, they finally rescue Peach. She has this weird shroob thing attached to her head, and they make their way back to Peach's castle. In Peach's castle, Bowser suddenly runs up to Princess Peach and tells her that his horoscope said that he would win today, so he's just taking her, and they run away. Luckily, they fall into a time hole, and they travel all the way to Thwomp Volcano. Mario and Luigi, Baby Mario, and Baby Luigi all climb up Thwomp Volcano, and on top of it they find an EGAD laboratory. Unfortunately, an eruption happens, and they had to come up with something to stop the eruption. Luckily, Baby Mario inspired young EGAD to invent the Hydro Gush in the future, which basically just sends water through the time holes to flood the area, which likely implies that he, after this happens but before the events of Partners in Time takes place, he inspired the invention of the Flood, which is really interesting. Then you gotta go fight this boulder woman. This is actually the hardest boss fight for me to fight, because, you know, it's not too hard, but like, it did take me like a good few weeks of attempts. Yeah, but like, you may think that like, I really shouldn't be struggling this much on a very simple RPG. But I am a fool of the doofus variety, thank you very much. The boulder woman's husband just so happens to be a thwomp, so he sends you down into the volcano like an elevator. You fight Bowser and Baby Bowser simultaneously, and then an eruption happens, which sends Bowser back into a time hole to the present, and Baby Bowser onto the Shroob mothership, which is about to come here to abduct Princess Peach and Mario and Luigi, and Baby Mario and Baby Luigi. So everyone gets into the spaceship as it flies off. Turns out it doesn't work out that well, and they fall all the way down onto this mountain, which they climb up, and so they go up to this like sky space area, and they talk to the star guy who reveals that Luigi is hiding stuff from people. And like, it's unimportant to the plot, but they tell her. But basically, and this star guy is preventing you from going through this gateway unless you have a clear and good soul. The thing that's preventing them from going is the fact that apparently Luigi is keeping secrets, but they eventually prove Luigi's worth and go through a time hole. Okay, keep in mind, this has been the same level since they entered through the Thwomp hole that's on the outside of Thwomp Mountain. That was at the halfway mark of the game, and now we're traveling to the final area. This level is literally half the game. Anyways, they go back to Peach's castle, go through the final time hole, which takes them to Peach's castle in the past, which is now Princess Shroob's castle. You've been traveling through Peach's castle for the entirety of the first half of the game, so you should learn the layout very well, which really helps you in the final area. You make your way to the Princess Shroob, which you learn was actually Princess Peach, except for they transformed Princess Peach into Princess Shroob. So you transform Princess Shroob into Princess Peach, and then the Cobalt Star is complete, so the Cobalt Star transforms into Princess Shroob's sister. So then you fight Princess Shroob's sister, and then it is complete. Baby Luigi starts crying on top of some shroob mushrooms, and it starts to dissolve, which gives them the idea to use the Hydro Gusher and flood all of the time holes to get rid of all of the shroobs, completely eliminating the species. There's one last shroob mushroom, and it's from Princess Shroob, so they take it back as a souvenir. When they get back to Peach's castle, they find Bowser is there, and so baby Luigi, for whatever reason, throws the Princess Shroob mushroom into Bowser's mouth, and now Bowser has powers, and so you're going into the final fight of the game, where you cannot attack. It is just dodging attacks the full way through. And then the game ends, with all the baby people and the people from the past going back home. This game is pretty good, but if you've seen any gameplay footage of Bowser's Inside Story and this game, then you might realize that Superstar Saga for the Game Boy Advance looks way more like Mario and Luigi Partners in Time for the DS than Mario and Luigi Partners in Time looks like Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, which is also for the DS. The reason for this is that it wasn't made for a DS, it was made for this thing. This is a Game Boy Advance connected to a Game Boy Advance SP, which is connected to an SNES controller, which basically makes it a DS. That's the reason why this game never uses the microphone and only uses the touchscreen once, and very briefly. So it's basically two Game Boy Advance games stacked on top of each other. I just thought that was an interesting fact to share. 8 out of 10.